Do you want to know what's the best secret style right now in the game? I will show every secret and ultra and give advice to each of them. And in the end, we will rank them on a final tier list. My name is Lucky and welcome to NetBlocks. And yes, this is my full face. I got tired of the face mask and I want you guys to know me better. And that works best if you know my face. So, if you like this video, please like, comment and subscribe. It helps me a lot. Thank you. Now let's go. Defenders. Let's start on KISUKI. That's one of the styles that's always available to get. He is labeled as a libero, but his stats make him strong in almost every role except spiking and blocking. His super dive covers nearly the whole court with a very low cooldown, meaning you can kind of spam it constantly. Because of that, stay mostly in the back so you can dive receive anything. Even if you double touch with your teammate occasionally, it's still worth it. He also has a max set and a strong serve, making him a surprisingly good all-rounder style, but with a heavy focus on defense. Ever since 1v1 got released, he became also a go-to style for the 1v1 scene, as he's just so good in dive receiving the spikes. But let me warn you, KISUKI is very difficult to play. Maybe even the most difficult style to play. To kind of balance this style, you could go with an ability such as Divine Strength or Magnetic Pole to enhance your rather weak spike stat, which got slightly buffed by the way. But there's also mechanics you can learn to heavily increase your offense. KISUKI Snake Jump is probably one of the most insane to play tags, but again, it is very hard to master. Check out my full KISUKI guide on my channel. Next, and actually last on the list of defenders, is MIKAGE. According to community stats, this style has the most wins in percentage, but is also one of the styles that's played the least. He's built for close range play at the net, focusing on blocking and spiking, thanks to his high jump, block and spike stats. His special ability, the Ghost Arms, are specifically made to shut down attackers with a big hitbox. The Ghost Arms activate automatically on blocks once you've charged the bar, and you fill the bar by ground setting, bumping or diving, while diving fills it the most. Note that jump sets, spikes and blocks do not charge it. As diving is the fastest way to fill the bar, try to dive receive as many serves as possible. You can also bump serve to get your Ghost Arms up. The block has even more range when you tilt to the sides, letting you cover huge areas. His main weakness is his speed, making it hard to actually play anywhere but close to net. Another weakness is his low set stat, especially from the back of the court. So, in case you are in the back of the court, use a spike set instead for more speed and distance. You should also equip Steel Block to boost your block power and to help counter the biggest nightmare of every blocker, the Shield Breaker ability. Next is the setters category, and we're kicking it off with TSK. But before we take a closer look into TSK, let me give you some advice for all setter styles. First, activate advanced moves and practice your setting. Sometimes it's better to keep more control over the sets you do, but also for defense and offense, this can be a crucial option. On jump sets, you can vary the distance, and on offense, you can decrease the power of your spike by press holding the set button in the air, but instead of releasing it, press the spike button. The decreased power will be applied onto your spike. More about that in the Jinko highlight. Second, vary your sets. Every style you are being matched with will need individual sets. So, practice high sets, low sets, short and long sets, and even bump sets. Styles like KAZANA will thank you for that. Check out my setter's guide if you really want to max your setting game. Set receive a ball instead of bump receiving. Even on a max set stat, a max set doesn't go as far as a total decreased bump, no matter the stats. And that has actually been changed over the last seasons. Fourth, on serve defense, try to let your teammate receive. Otherwise, you won't be able to max out your setting capabilities, because you can just send it up. But now let's get into the TSK quick guide. Most of his stats are solid, except for the spike, but his super set is what makes him shine. Every side set floats for about a second, giving hitters more control over the timing of their spikes. This makes TSK great for beginners and advanced players alike. As max serve compensates for his weak spike, try out a bunch of serving techniques and master them. Check out my all serves guide if you need inspiration. When you do need to spike, use back tilt to avoid low hits. To max out your TSK gameplay, you rather should go for an ability that gives you more offense options such as Shield Breaker, Magnetic Pull, or the redirection jump. But a good alternative would be to either get a 4th touch to set it to your spiking teammate again, or to actually use steel block and shut down the opponent plays immediately. Now we get to TAICHOU, who's actually the most played pure setter style according to the stats. Compared to TSK, TAICHOU is slightly better on offense. His special ability gives your hitter a spike buff after you set to them, which means you must set receive instead of bumping, otherwise the buff doesn't apply. Of course, it's not mandatory to apply the buff, but it can be a crazy tag if your hitter is fast enough. When set receiving, make sure to not send the ball over the net by turning your camera infield, moving backwards, and reducing the power if needed. TAICHOU's serve isn't maxed, but it's still strong enough, so use whatever serve tech you're comfortable with. Ability choices are similar to TSK, with Magnetic Pull or Shield Breaker being helpful to balance out what you're missing on offense. Or use a 4th touch to apply the double spiker buff on your hitter, giving him a crazy fast attack. The new Feiko style is the newest setter addition. He is the love child of TAICHOU and TSK, having the exact same stats of TAICHOU and a copy of TSK's stop set with a little add-on for offense called the dump set, making Feiko a really solid style full of surprises. To perform either a stop or dump set, you first gotta switch between both modes with your special button. The stop set just works as TSK set, with one difference, that a full power set does not stop as much as TSK's max set. So having advanced moves on is crucial for this style to max out the stop set. For the dump set, you really gotta be close to the net, otherwise you'll have a hard time, and that's where you will mostly be at. Finding the perfect mix of positioning and advanced moves will give you the best options. It will require a lot of practice and dedication to max out that style, and to be honest, it didn't have as much impact on the current scene as I hoped it would have, being a non-hitter style with offensive abilities, but especially on higher ranks it's very easy to defend those dump sets. The statistics put him on the lowest spots in all categories, but there's only 0.38% playing him. And if those 0.38% didn't try to max out the capabilities, well, what can you expect? But to increase Feiko's abilities, go with a boom jump to get more options on the dump, extra touch for more setter quality, or steel block as you're primarily close net anyways. Lastly on the list of setters is TSO, time skip OKAZU. While primarily being a setter, TSO leans heavily towards attacking, and not to forget his deadly rainbow serve. One of the strongest serves in the entire game, alongside Akito's float serve. It's extremely fast and knocks down receivers, making recovery difficult. Because of this, TSO should focus on serve pressure. Take offensive abilities like redirection jump or even curve spike, which work great on both serves and spikes. His non-rainbow serves are also powerful, so mastering advanced serve styles pays off. Back to the spike and max jump stat. You can tell this still is meant to put pressure on opponents even outside the serve. So tips for spiking: TSO's back tilt is actually super strong. If you're not in the total end of your court, you can back tilt from almost anywhere at any height. It will simply go in. In case you are in the very back of the field, decrease your spike power by following step 1 of the general setter's advice before. So, if you want to play a setter but want to be more of an all-rounder, you could definitely go with TSO. And now we get into the most beloved category of them all, the spiking styles. And to be honest, it makes sense that it is the most beloved one, as the current 2v2 meta is basically 2 spiking styles in one team. Most hacks that have been discovered are about spiking. And just as on the setters category, let me give you some quick advices that work on all spiking styles. First, shift locking. At a certain rank, it is mandatory to learn about shift locking. You can still keep up with camera flicks and whatnot, but you will never reach the absolute peak of spiking if you don't learn about shift locking. Second, learn other tags. There's so many cool tags to learn. I'm talking about glide spikes, arrow tag, snake jumps, counter spikes, and desync hits. Third, know when to set. And that tip goes out to anyone. Of course, hitters are the ones aping the most, obviously, but some really overdo it. And yes, sometimes your teammate is just not as good on hitting as you are, and I include myself on that. But especially then, the opponent will focus only you. And instead of taking the second hit with a spike, try doing a wide set to the side that anyone can simply hit in. Alright, now let's talk about the statistically most played, most loved, most hated, and most nerfed style. SANJU. Together with KISUKI, the only style you can get at any time. His secret ability lets him tilt his spikes, making his attacks unpredictable and extremely hard to defend. This allows you to bypass blockers and hit it almost anywhere. To master SANJU, you must master tilting. Tilting the ball hit, of course. And this applies to serves too. Even though his serve stat is rather low, tilt makes his serves dangerous and hard to read. And aim at their setter to disrupt their gameplay. But go into practice and play around with the tilt to exactly learn when you can apply what tilt to make crazy hits possible. And after that, learn the crazy attacks, shift locking, desync attacks, glides. I guarantee you that SANJU is one of the best styles in the game, and the 51% win rate on nearly 30% of players prove that. A lot of low-level people actually play him as he is a non-limited secret style, and for that a 51% win rate is really good. The best abilities for SANJU are Shield Breaker or my personal favorite on him, Redirection Jump. Combined with a tilt, it becomes almost impossible to predict your attack. And for SANJU, I feel like everything that helps on defense or balancing the weakness of that style is kind of a waste. And next, we got TSH, a style that so many of you want. My guess is he will come back in a few weeks though. Good luck guys, and one word up front, he is totally worth it, as TSH is a speed-based hitter. Running fills a speed bar, and when full, you can do a super spike. The challenge is that even tiny direction changes reset the bar. So he also kind of depends on a good setter. If the sets aren't far enough or inconsistent, you will struggle to reach max speed. The distance from the backline to the attacking line is roughly the amount of space needed to fill the bar, so setters must set far but still accessible. But even if you don't max out the bar, he is just very fun to play and still strong. You can tell by the community's win rate that this style is an absolute beast. And maxing out that beast means to apply any tag available to your gameplay. Keep in mind though that snake jumping is killing your speed bar, so it's not the best tag to use on TSH. But for the rest, I feel like on TSH you have to master them, especially counter spiking. It just feels so mighty. When it comes to serves, honestly, use whatever tech you're comfortable with. I've not seen many TSHs going for aces, and the higher your rank is, the less likely aces are in general. For the ability part on TSH, Magnetic Pull helps a lot, as it can balance out bad sets while keeping the speed bar up. Super Sprint also feels great. Let's be real guys, don't we all just want to be the original HINTO? I had to peep it since we shouldn't do anime references anymore. And another fun thing is acting as a decoy, similar to the anime. When opponents start focusing only you, simply set instead of spiking, and the court will be as free as the Western freedom of speech. I have a full TSH guide on my channel if you want more details. Hidari is next on the list. Hidari is a hitter that trades in his speed for max spike and max serve power, but only when striking with his left arm. This means your positioning matters more than on any other style. But because Hidari is low, don't waste too much time into defending. Instead, set block, close net, and practice offensive tags like shift locking, glide spikes, desync tags. You know, if you know how to desync spike, this style is literally made for you. When it comes to serves, I noticed they easily go out, so you really need to practice that and find serves that work for you. But honestly, even though we have styles with a dedicated serve, like the Twins and TSO, I feel like Hidari is on the absolute top list of aces. But if I'm honest, it's one of the hardest serves to do. For this video, I tried 1 hour to get a single ace done, and 99% of the advanced serves have been too low. So you really have to practice this. Also, practicing your back tilt spikes on the right timing and angle will guarantee you deadly backfield points similar to TSH and SANJU. And one thing that I also discovered is play around with decreased spikes, as it seems that the downward curve gets stronger when decreasing the spike while not losing too much power on the left arm spike. So you can do crazy hits from basically anywhere. Abilities that work well on Hidari are Boom Jump, Redirection Jump, Magnetic Pull, and Shield Breaker. Basically anything that improves your spike timing or spike direction. Then we have KAZANA. KAZANA is very different from the other hitters due to his super jump ability. He can jump incredibly high, similar to the boom jump ability, but without a cooldown. The catch is that charging the jump slows you down heavily, making it kind of a risky move. For that, you can toggle the ability on and off when needed, for example during serves. KAZANA excels in air combat, using height to hit over blockers. The thing is, in most cases, it takes a little while to perform the jump, giving your opponent time to see where you look at. That being said, techs like shift locking or desyncs can work of course, but especially in the beginning, I'd recommend rather going for well-timed back tilts on the high jump, since they often land perfectly on the back line, and in the current meta that's pretty strong. But it requires a setter that knows what you will need, and that often leads to mistakes and free points for the opponent. Abilities on KAZANA should enhance the spike itself. Curve spike, shield breaker, magnetic pull, and redirection jump are pretty good for KAZANA. Another cool ability is super sprint, as you can break out of the jump charge debuff you get while holding the jump button. That way you can run around super fast while basically having a boom jump ready at hand. One word about statistics, KAZANA is one of the least winning styles, even though 6% of all players play him. Compared to TSH with the same amount of players, it's only got a win rate of below 50%, so you win less than every second game and have more losses than you have wins. And that's because you need a teammate that knows what sets KAZANA needs, otherwise it will be really hard to play KAZANA. Now coming to Jinko. He's kind of the little brother of SANJU and maybe a secret twin of HIDARI, but instead of crazy speed and crazy tilts, Jinko applies a ridiculous curve onto the ball. It has been nerfed ever since I made my guide on this style, but it's still disgusting in a fun way. Especially the back tilt feels OP, as it always goes in, but there's more. An important tech to use here is the decreased spike again. So let me explain that real quick here. You will definitely need the advanced moves being turned on and then hold your set button, but instead of releasing the set, you press the spike combined with the direction inputs such as left or right. The less power you apply to the ball, the more it will curve. On a back tilt, it looks like this. And a crazy tag you can only do on this style is the boomerang tag. The lower you hit the ball towards net height, the more it will curve back, allowing the most crazy spikes. But take care to not send it back to your own field, unless you plan that as a set. The curve applies to both spikes and serve, so play around with a decreased power on both to find out what works best for you. The big downside on Jinko is, again, similar to SANJU and HIDARI, his speed. So for defense, rather go for set blocks again, since good hitters will simply outplay you. That doesn't mean you should always camp close net though, but sometimes it's better to just take the risk and jump than waiting to just get scored on. Abilities that work well on Jinko are, again, spike and abilities that increase the spike potential. Shield breaker or magnetic pull are excellent choices. And now we are finally facing the all-round category. All-rounders have downsides, but compared to other styles, they are rather balanced. And first here are the twins, Akito the setter and Okuro the hitter. I've seen some pretty decent players on that, as this is a 2-in-1 style, but the downside is exactly that. You must swap between them, which can sometimes be a bit annoying because of the cooldown, which is, to be fair, rather low. But it's a button more you actively have to press during the game several times to max out the power of that style. The most talked about part of the twins is Akito's float serve, one of the strongest serves in the whole game alongside TSO's rainbow serve. To do it, toss the ball slightly in front, wait a moment, jump after it and hit with a back tilt spike. This creates the impossible serve that floats back towards the net. It also works on mobile with practice and it works on crazy angles too. Just play around with it. For the rest of the twins, you can use any tag and mechanic, you can go for blocks on Okuro, and you're also a good defender on Akito with his very high movement speed. On abilities, honestly everything except for the curve spike works well on the twins. The curve doesn't work on serves, so you would only have it for spikes, and for that, in my opinion, it's kind of wasted. But anything else depends on your personal preference. I would most likely go for a magnetic pull, as that is my overall go-to ability. Next on the all-rounders list is YOGAN. He recently got buffed and people are going crazy with that style now. He's been considered the worst secret of them all, but after the latest buff, people got crazy with him. And we might see a nerf soon. His base stats aren't even that good, but once you reach Rage Mode, your secret ability, all of your stats will be maxed, including 3 rainbow stats that totally stand out. To charge the Rage, you have to either bump, ground set, or dive for the ball. When it's full, you can activate your Rage. Now all stats are maxed, and just look how fast he's moving. But the actual rainbow stats, jump, dive and spike, are now totally crazy. They're not just crazy, they are actual copies of other secret styles. The jump is taken from KAZANA, the dive from KISUKI, and the spike is a copy of HIDARI. So overall, you're just the most crazy all-rounder you could think of. The only thing missing would be a stop set, but even the base set is already pretty good and totally enough to work with. Some important tips for YOGAN. A tip for getting the rage mode up faster is ground and bump setting to your teammate. He will have to understand that you need that to get the rage up. Bump serve. That way you get a free charge of your rage bar up, and if played well, you can get your rage mode within the first 3 to 5 points of the match. Next tip is, on rage, even though you're a crazy hitter now, try to work with your teammate and actually give him chances to spike, to keep the rage mode active for as long as possible, since only spiking and blocking will decharge the rage. Bumping, diving, setting, and serving don't take any of your rage. Next one, back tilting on rage mode can be incredibly efficient on YOGAN. If you time it right, the ball becomes a bullet and curves downwards inside the field. But the timing is really hard to get. To make it a bit easier again, use decreased spikes to take off a bit of the power, but with that also some of the travel distance. Another tip is you're jumping super high, which makes blocking insanely effective as the block hitbox stays active for as long as you jump, unlike a jump set block that is only active for about a second. But keep in mind that blocking also decreases the rage. Tags to combine with YOGAN: Any. Check again the spiker advices. Snake jumping is a quite funny tag to use with this style as the dive is so wide. For abilities, there's funny combos like Curve Spike that together with the Rage mode makes you a Jinko clone with an unfair back tilt that always goes in. And another one is Divine Strength. I haven't tried it myself, but people said it has a similar effect, especially on the back tilt. Another cool combo is the Boom Jump, because usually the Boom Jump is approximately as high as the Rage Jump, but when on Rage, the Boom Jump gets buffed and you're sent nearly into space. It actually feels like you're hacking. But also other abilities work and do a great job. It again comes down to what you prefer to play. And now the second last style of them all, HAKKA. HAKKA has caused a lot of controversy because of the ultra rarity and people considered him being broken. Official stats however show that he isn't that strong, with just a 50% win rate on nearly 5% of all players playing him, which is a lot. In my opinion, the ultra rarity is questionable, but the style itself is not too OP, but it is very fun. So, more about HAKKA now. HAKKA's ability lets you teleport once on your next set in the direction you press, and that teleport does not count as an extra touch. But you gotta fill that bar first by diving, jump or ground setting and bumping the ball. And again, for charging the clones, you can also bump serve to get a free charge. Beyond that, he's got masteries that actually change his gameplay. Finishing mastery quests unlock new perks, and at level 2 you unlock max block for your clones. And at mastery level 4 and 5 are where it gets crazy. You gain one more clone, so one more teleport, and your clones have max spike. So while HAKKA is technically a setter, he plays more like a true all-rounder. Other setter styles rely heavily on their teammates to finish plays. HAKKA does not. He has solid base spike, teleport mobility, high speed, and confusing clone pressure. He can be a setter, or hitter, or just a chaos machine. One thing for the serves, once you have the clones up, you can even do a HAKKA clone serve. That's pretty fun. Abilities that work well with HAKKA are the extra touch, because you already have that teleport extra touch, and if you then decide to set it again to your teammate, the opponent will be totally confused. And besides that ability, honestly, anything, depending on what you like. Again, check my all abilities guide and find out what you'd like to try. But overall, HAKKA is simply one of the most flexible styles in the game, but also one of the most hard to get. And let's not even talk about the masteries. It will take, let's just say, a long time to make it to Mastery 5. Last on the list of all styles and all-rounders is Akari, the absolute newest style that just has been released. Right now, the community is pretty split up on that style. Many think this style is buns, while others, including me, absolutely love this style. And the problem here is that style again works different from all other styles, similar as KAZANA or KISUKI, and most spiking focused players will struggle with that style. More about that later. With a max spike stat, Akari is considered a spiker, but Akari has also a very high speed stat. even compared to TSH, making her the fastest of all hitters. That alone would claim her my top spot on the list of all-rounders. But there's more. The jump is maxed, while any other stat is rather mid. One rainbow is standing out, which is also the ultra ability called Dash. Dashing is similar to HAKKA's teleport, just that you can do it completely free both on ground and in the air. That gives you a lot of options to make use of this style. You also don't need any charge, as it's full by default and only recharges over time. No bumps or set required to charge it. Also, you can decrease the dash by holding the dash button, which can become a problem actually. On defense, for instance, if you hold decrease your bump button, but you have to dash instead, the decreased bump will be applied onto the dash, similar as on decreasing spikes. At mastery level 0, it takes roughly 8 seconds to recharge, but similar as on HAKKA, you can unlock new perks by leveling this style. On level 1, 2 and 4, you will increase the recharge speed by almost 50% in total, so to let's say 5 seconds in total. Mastery 3 and 5 have unique add-ons. 3 will be a charge dash, which is an ability that will make your spikes behave like TSH spikes on full speed, but only after you dashed. On level 5, you will gain a double dash, allowing more movement. Now let me give you some tips on playing Akari. The first thing you will notice is that for a spiking style, her tilts behave different from most other hitters. The back tilt, for instance, flies a perfectly straight line, unlike on most other styles with down curves. Also, it feels pretty slow, and in the current meta, most hitters actually play around with front cuts and total backline hits, and this style will struggle with that strategy. In general, the hits feel slightly weaker compared to other hitters. Might be just my impression now, but it could be that they buff the style in the next updates. To compensate for the spike that feels a bit weak, you now really should learn shift locking. Check out the video by Car2121 to learn more about that tag in detail. Next tip is actually the dash. You will have to spend some hours, if not 100 hours, to get the masteries done, which is a lot. So if you go for that style, it means dedication. The dash cooldown is quite high, so make sure to efficiently use it until you have the masteries done. I now give you a quick guide on tags you can do with the dash. First, dash serves. Similar as on HAKKA before, you can use the dash for serve tags. The most simple one would be throwing the ball infield, dashing after it and hitting it. But you can also apply shift lock tags to it, or a really quick desync. Next is dash defense. As mentioned before, a decreased bump could be applied to the dash. So make sure to rather use full set receives on this style or decreased ones if your positioning is perfect. Anyways, in general, I would recommend using the dash for spikes rather than on defense. So dashing offense, the most difficult part on this style is you will again need a setter that makes use of your dash. While on most styles, sets are coming according to your movement. On Akari, it basically doesn't matter where the set goes, as you can just dash after it. So tell your teammate to set it to any side and just dash. And that's also my biggest advice for Akari. Don't let them know your next move, neither your opponent nor your teammate. A cool thing, however, is, and especially if you have a teammate, if you glide jump to the left and dash right, you will get a bit of left momentum from the jump earlier. And that also applies on front glides with backdash. And actually with that you can do a funny TSO copy spike, but without the knockbacks, so basically it's useless, but it's fun. And just for more inspiration, you could also use the dash on ground to one side and then glide to the other. Maybe that makes it even easier to play with random setters, to just fake a direction and then go the easy route again if he just sets it up. But the style is super new and there will be probably new guides and new shorts about that style coming up the next days. For the abilities, I think redirection jump, magnetic pull, boom jump, shield breaker, and one of my favorites, super sprint, do well. Because as mentioned before, the movement of a glide jump will be applied after a dash, and with a super sprint, that will create crazy possibilities. But let's try to put them all on a tier list now. As mentioned several times, I think that hitters are currently dominating ranked. And that is kind of the foundation of how I rank the styles. And before you comment that this tier list is trash, why not write your own one? Then we simply can have a discussion on what you like on certain styles. That helps me and it would help you too. The lowest spot now unfortunately goes to KISUKI. I love that style, but at the end we want to win the games, okay? And KISUKI has the lowest win rates of them all. And I think it's just because it's very hard to play and you're very dependent on your teammate. Next is TSO. I think it's a cool style to play, but apart from the very nice serve, he's just worse than the other setters and hitters. Then we have Taichu, and similar to TSO, he's just worse than most styles. Also, in my opinion, the spike buff is just not as good as the stop set, and especially on higher ranks. It's more about good hit tags rather than pure hit speed. And now I can already see a lot of comments, but guys, it's KAZANA. I know a lot of you guys will be mad about that and will comment, but guys, just see the statistics. It's one of the least winning styles with over 6% playing him. That's low-key as bad as KISUKI. And this style exists for a really long time, so people should be good with him by now. Of course, there are crazy KAZANAs. But let's be real, a good KAZANA player won't have to watch this video. This whole video is more for people that still are learning and finding their way. And in that case, I would say better go with a different hitter style. Okay, calm down guys. Next is MIKAGE. MIKAGE has the highest win percentage based on the community stats, but I think that's because the 0.75% of players play low rank 1v1 and dominate with him. But at a certain rank, MIKAGE simply will limit you more than giving you options. And as mentioned before, people here are looking for styles to spin for and then get good with it. And I think MIKAGE will just limit you too much at some point. Next up are the twins, and I feel like now we get into the territory of good styles. They are super good all-rounders, and honestly it's a style you totally could go for. But I feel like that style is not done with nerfs or buffs. Community has been saying the surf got recently nerfed. I couldn't find any patch note to that, but I sometimes feel like the surf is a bit inconsistent even without nerfs. And that's what kind of makes this style risky at some point. Also, I personally am no big fan of switching styles mid-game and then being stuck on cooldown, and that's why I placed them rather low. On number 9, HAKKA. And you could definitely go for HAKKA, and I think he is quite strong, but 200 to 400 spins to get a style that is hard to actually master since there's not many detailed guides. I personally wouldn't risk it if I was a rather new player. On number 8, TSK. Now, number 8 sounds bad, but to be honest, all the following styles could have been at this spot, because from here on it totally depends on the individual player. But as mentioned in the beginning, we are currently having a hitter's meta. You often see the SANJU TSH combos and probably see more of them now even after Feiko and Akari. And TSK is simply just a setter. A really good one though. Statistically he has a lot of wins, but honestly that is because most of the players in percentage are either on low ranks or on higher ranks have a teammate that is just simply crazy good. Probably even a top 100 hitter. On number 7, Feiko. Similar as on TSK, you're just a setter, but you have that little ace up your sleeve with a dump set. Again, on higher ranks it's not that effective, but I think it is just a slightly better version of TSK. Akari makes number 6. Akari is fresh and it's still uncertain on where the style will end up on statistics and what new tags will be invented. Right now I think the spike is not too strong, but the mobility could make her a really strong opponent. Let's wait some time and place her once people got used to Akari. But with Akari we are entering the hitter's domain now. On number 5 I placed Hidari. Hidari is really good at desync hitting because of the max spike, if you stand correctly. And if you're good at that or want to go for just that super strong hit presence, then this style is totally for you and you can rival any of the style that's following. On number 4, Jinko. Similar as Hidari, it depends on how you play, but instead of super fast plays, you play with curves and faking the opponent. Decreasing spikes will be essential, and if you're able to do that, then go with Jinko. The gameplay is basically fooling your opponent, which can be a lot of fun. The last 3 styles, SANJU, TSH and YOGAN, share those spots, as in my opinion it's just player skill setting them apart. And for the rather fresh players, it's really important on what you'd like to play. If you want to be a super all-rounder style, being good at anything, I would recommend YOGAN. You just have to get the rage up and you're a monster. If you want a really solid hitter that has also some all-round capabilities due to some movement speed, go with TSH. In the beginning it's a bit hard to master, and if you plan to play another hitter one day, you will have to relearn a lot, as TSH simply has to run a lot and the movement is different from other hitters. And if you're totally the mechanics player that doesn't want to bother too much about moving around, defense and positioning, go for SANJU and learn all the spiking tags. I promise you that this style is still good at top 100 levels. Now again, what's your tier list? I can already see people crying around in the comments, so just drop your very own tier list and we can have a discussion, okay? However, I hope this video could help you on finding the secret or ultra you want to spin for. And if that's the case, please like, comment and subscribe. It's free and it helps me a lot.